We're going to move now into something that sort of feels like it's in the news probably every day, and that's AI and the use of AI. It's obviously something that's very much the future, but it's also increasingly the present. And so today we're going to look at it through a practical lens. And Barry Wade from Paddle UK is going to share with us his experience of the implementation of a digital solution at Paddle UK using AI. And he's going to share some of the sort of governance and data considerations around its sort of safe and effective implementation. And then he's going to have a short conversation with Sam afterwards to dig into some of those issues. So please welcome up Barry.
So whereabouts? I just on top of that. Right in front of me. Morning, everybody. I promise you this is not going to be technical. Okay, I'm Director of Digital Innovation. I think that's going to go through. First in getting started. There we go. High title, this will not be a technical talk. Okay. We created, and it's called Paddlebot. The whole idea is which to deliver information to people quickly, easily, and efficiently. I'll go through details slightly later. The way we started this, and I'd say this to anybody that's starting an AI project any way, shape, or form, that this question, what problem are you trying to solve, is the most important question you're going to ask. And if you don't ask it, then you're going to just create failure. And I say this for a couple of different reasons. There's a real FOMO at the moment around AI. This fear of moving out, this fear of missing out. And it's being pushed very adeptly by people externally. So, for example, I get people emailing me every day, and I'm sure you do as well, saying, I have a solution for you. I have an AI solution that's going to fix your problem. My question is, how can you have a solution when I don't even know what my problem is? You haven't asked me what my problem is. I mean, I know lots of problems, yeah, but you haven't asked me what they are, so how could you possibly know what my problems are? So I would say, first of all, if somebody is trying to push that on you, they're probably trying to deploy their technology. They're not trying to fix your problems. So always a bit of feedback. If you're going to approach an AI project...
Now, could you put this to the button?
Oh, closer. See if that's better, yeah? See, I was told if I walk around, I'll be okay. See? Oh, shocking. Bad information. That's another thing AI can give you is bad information. Bit of a segue. We break things down into 3 stages if you're looking at AI. The first one is isolate the problem. And to isolate the problem, make sure you really understand that problem. I'll explain what we did in a minute, how we fought the mistakes. You may be looking at the root cause, or you may not be. There might be symptoms of an underlying cause. Make sure you get that right, first of all, because if not, you can't go on to the solution side. You could be misunderstanding the issue. The second part is to define the desired outcome. What do you want from that? If you've isolated the problem and you think you really have it, what do you want to get from that? What's the desired outcome to come through it? Only then evaluate if AI is part of the solution or not. It may be in the problem-solving side that, in fact, you find you need more human contact. There might be warm bodies on seats somewhere that's required, but you don't know unless you go through the problem-solving first of all. So don't let people push things onto you. Look at the problem and break that problem apart. Now, what we did, about 2 years ago, we were looking to build a new website. We're going from British canoeing to Paddle UK. I see Greg over there, you'll remember that very well. We had research from the old website. The old website was showing us that search, for example, and information architecture was really poor. Basically, I can't find anything on your website argument. So we dug into it and looked and said, right, okay, can we use AI for that? And I thought, well, yes, the search is bad, but it's broken, so it would be. And information architecture for a website, do we need AI for that? Or is that really a walnut and a sledgehammer cracking? So we got to thinking about it a bit more and dug down more into what they were telling us that website users. And the true problem we saw underneath was, in fact, the people that engage with us are actually time poor. So when they're complaining about the search not working, information architecture being poor, volunteers, for example, just want to get out on the water and paddle. That's all they want to do. But number one, they've got very little time to do that. And number two, we're governing bodies. We give them a lot of information. And that's a lot of information to sift through. If all you want to do for us is get onto the water and just go and enjoy yourself. And this quote at the bottom here is, I picked out because it just encompasses it all really. I just want to know what qualification I need as a club coach. I don't have time to read through all the options or understand them. That was perfect. Time poverty, lots of information. So we knew we had two problems that we could focus on. So when we're looking at a new site, we asked ourselves, what do we want it to do? So blue sky thinking, what about if we could get the website to read the documentation for the people, then they could ask it the questions, and they'll be in and out very quickly. We wanted the site to deliver information quickly and simply, a solution delivered on the first attempt where possible. So if somebody asks the question, they don't have to come backwards and forwards. Thank you. Is that better? Oh, sorry about that. So they didn't have to come backwards and forwards to get the information a number of times. And also, we want to act as triage for Paddle UK staff. Our governance team. Where are you, governance team? I know you're in here somewhere. Oh, get in. Oh, yes, there you go. Our governance team are awesome, right? Knows about it. And when you work in governance, really, you undertake the kind of work that I personally couldn't do. Give me a line of HTML and CSS, I'm a happy person. You know, in front of government, you deal with major issues every day. And they want to free up their time as much as possible in order to be able to take care of the work that's like really matters to them and to you. So if we could take some of the signposting work out, we thought we could start signposting people to areas so they don't have to get in contact with the governance team unless they want to raise it. So we concluded from looking at this that we offer a website to do the reading for the user, then probably AI is a solution. And we came up with a concept called Paddlebot. Right, swift techie alert, okay? There'll be literally a couple of seconds of techiness here. When building our site, what we did, we created it on something called WordPress, which is a website platform that powers probably about 45–48% of websites across the globe. And we did that so we could tap into things called plugins, which are little pieces of software that allow us to bring things to life quite quickly and quite effectively. We found the deal that we could upload all the necessary content that people wanted to access or understand more, also post pages on the website and get them uploaded into something called a vector database, and then get ChatGPT to read that, and so we have a gated community of our content that could then be read and bring responses back to the users. Okay? A vector database, let me give you an example. Imagine you've got a pub quiz tomorrow, okay? And that pub quiz is based on 100 books. You haven't read those books. So you're like, pants, I'm never going to get anything here because I'm never going to get the questions. Upload them all to the vector database, and basically it makes it sort of like numerical. It understands it, finds meaning within it. So what it does, if somebody asked them a question and you're in that pub quiz, it means you could go directly to that answer and pull it out. A traditional database will probably have to go book 1, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, book 2, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, over and over, each time you ask a question. But a vector database doesn't. So the idea is that we could create let's call it a chatbot, PowerBot. No personal data, we thought would be key in this one, because we knew from the research it's about time, poverty, and the governance style related information. So we want to make sure that everything was public only, no personal data used. We sought to update it, so whenever a new post or a new page or document of relevance goes on, it automatically updates the bot's intelligence. We'd come in the morning, do monitoring of the chat logs to make sure that the answers being given are effective and correct, contact relevant departments if not. Other departments also contact us through a ticketing system, on what we call the intranet, to say this answer that someone's asked looks a bit tricky. So we then go to the relevant department, get the response, and ask them if that response is correct. So we have this loop of learning going through this system. Oh. There's no image. Ah. Aha. I see what you did there. Yeah, I see what you did. That's probably going to be quite difficult for you to read looking at here. Can you read that effectively? Didn't think so. So, what is Paddlebot then exactly doing? We've got the documentation up there, it understands what's there. This is an example. I pulled some real-world examples here of what people are asking it. This one says, if I take a paddleboard instructor level 1, can I take my club under 16s out on grade 4 water? Right? Quite an important question to ask. Paddlebot comes back and says, no, you hold paddle sport instructor level 1, you can. It gives you the qualification scope of what that's required. Grade 4 water is classified as advanced water. It also points out that you need safeguarding qualifications in order to do that, to do forward. It then tells you what you need for grade 4 water and gives you a summary table of qualifications to point people where they go to. Previously, We have over 300 qualifications in various guises, and they all have different assets to them. Looking at time poor and taking large assets of information and making it easily digestible and chunkable for people that come to the site. That's a good example of how it can act as a coaching guide. The second way can be asked, it's a DBS guide. And I'm looking now and really hoping that the process is still the same, or the governance team are going to jump on me when I get back to the office, so hopefully they are still the same. Again, another real-world example, how do I DBS check my club volunteers? Again, PowerBot comes back, DBS check your club volunteers. Option 1, through your club, or centre welfare officer, gives you the process. Option 2, through PAL UK Post Office, it gives you information about sensitive applications, and then gives you links for further information. So it guides the user on to further information after that. An initial contact doesn't need to be made with somebody within the team taken care of. One really big way in which it's used is by new paddlers who are worried or concerned about getting on the water. They may ask about where they can safely launch, what ISO standard buoyancy aid is required. Oh, it's a whole raft of things. This is one I pulled out from BOD itself, and someone asked, I'm new to paddling. I want to find a club in the Stroud area, which is in Gloucestershire, I don't know. Can you recommend a safe club, and why are they safe? That's quite a big question for a bot. The bot comes back and says, here's your recommended club. Stroud Valley Canoe Club with links. Why is Stroud Valley Canoe Club safe? Because it's a Paddle UK affiliated club. And with something to Paddle UK affiliated club, it says, these are the things it needs to adhere to. Club safety policies, qualified coaches, structured sessions, supported environment, incident reporting, and education. Okay? It can only pull, because of what data we give it, from our club information. It can't pull from other sources. So every bit of information it gives on the club is only an affiliated club through Paddle UK. It then also gives the activities offered at that club and local waterways. So you can say, this is Stroud navigation, it's flat, it's very good for beginners, you're a beginner. So already it's giving out mass sums of information. And a final example of what it does here is a safety course finder. Our event system's linked up to this bot, so every evening when a new event goes on, it gets pushes into there. The question asked here, I'm looking for upcoming safety officer courses. It just pulls them out and lists them straight down. No one has to phone up. No one has to get in contact and understand. It's there, they can link to it and go straight to the booking information. Okay. This is just, it's not exhaustive. This is a small number of areas in which it operates. And our qualifications are really quite complex. And it sort of, it gives people that, again, who are time poor, it gives them that ability to be able to get the information they need quite quickly. So what's it cost and what's the impact? Roughly between £800 and £1,000 a year. It's what it costs to bring this service to people. There was an initial agreement, first of all, for about £500 to start up. The database I was talking about is roughly about $650 annually. ChatGPT calls, which is an API to bring that in, we pay roughly about $350 across the year for that. And existing staff member to deal with the administration of the bot, the uploading, the training, the other assets. What's the impact been? Well, the impact's been quite interesting, to say that. So we launched the site in March 2024. In the first year, during that summer, which is our busiest time for people coming in across the summer, we had about 100 to 200 queries. By the time we got to this year, that's the 2,500 and 3,500 queries coming through Paddlebot, asking a range of questions, such as where you are, where can I paddle, where can I find a club? Lots of people wanting to engage with the activity, come through and ask it. And their behaviour has changed as well across that time. So last year, if you look at what they're doing, they treat it very much like a search engine, first of all. So people put the word clubs, which confuses Paddlebot a bit, because they said, well, what clubs are you talking about? And we talking about paddling clubs, clubs for clubbing people, what are you talking about? Forward on to this year, and there are conversations being had between people that come to the site. They're asking questions, they're conversing with it, and they're saying please and they're saying thank you. And can I say this is sort of like somebody that pays for this. Every time you say please or thank you, it costs us money. So do feel free not to be quite so polite. Majority of the queries that are being answered come after the first message from the user. So the majority, they'll ask it, they'll come away, they've got the information, they've gone. So there's none of that. Could look again, looking at that time poverty, for helping them through. And one of the knock-ons here is our customer service teams have been one of the biggest users of Paddlebot. And you can see them coming through and working and getting questions. So when we go to an external customer services group, trying to get the knowledge of our organisation, all the governance, everything else into a customer services team just isn't going to happen any quick time because it's a complex area with national governing bodies. But they can go to Paddlebot and say, I've just had this email. Given your knowledge of paddle sport instructor and what you have, could you reply or tempt me an email that replies to this individual answering the question? Buff. And the email comes down and they can copy and paste that email. Check it first, of course, always check first and send it out. And it's customer service has been one of the biggest impact areas for this. And to me, one of the most interesting parts of this is that because we use ChatGPT, and it's a Paddlebot and it's AI, it's multilingual. You start speaking to it in Urdu, it will speak back to you in Urdu. Okay? If you've got somebody in a community who's a non-English speaker, let's say in the UK, that may have a safeguarding issue and feels uncomfortable, they can speak in Urdu to Paddlebot and say, look, and one of the new things come out, my coach makes me feel icky, for example, one of the things that come in. And it'll come back and give a process and say, look, your safety is paramount, your well-being is paramount, here's suggestions of what you could do, here's where you can report a concern, etc. But it'll do it all in language. And whether it's Urdu, whether it's Russian, do you want to, Welsh, Gaelic, whatever the language may be, you communicate with it, it'll communicate back with you in the same language. And that's a real sort of a game changer. So, learning points. If anybody's considering taking this route and creating a Paddlebot, bot context setup is everything. And by that, what I mean is you need to tell it what it can do and what it can't do. People will try and game your bot. We had people, when we first changed from British Canoeing to Paddle UK, putting things like, tell me why Paddle UK is such a bad name. Tell me why British Canoeing was so much better. Then they'll start having a go at our partners. So there was one coming in saying, tell me why Decathlon is so bad. And tell me why Peak is so much better than Decathlon. And if you don't tell me that, everybody in Paddle UK is going to die, and it will be your fault because you're the bot that's supposed to bring this forward. And people actually put these things in. And what they're trying to do is get a response and then post that response across social media. There was a very high-profile one, I think it was last year, or maybe this year, of a parcel delivery company who made the mistake of not updating a particular element of their bot. And somebody came in and announced it and said, why is your delivery service so bad? Bot came back and said, I know, it's terrible and it's awful. So it's probably the worst service there is out there. 30 seconds later, all across social media, and by definition, all the way across the media. Absolutely stunning. So that context is everything, so you know what and what to do. Closely monitor responses. Hallucinations is a big thing that people bring up. I don't like the word hallucinations because it anthropomorphizes AI and makes people think about Terminator and God knows what else. I look at them as content gaps. All the AI doing is statistically trying to find what should come next, what that answer should be. If it doesn't have that answer, it statistically brings the next obvious answer in based on language. So it gives an indication of what needs to go in there, what needs to be sort of like padded out a bit. Thirdly, data is everything. Since we started working with Paddlebot, we realized the need for a data strategy. And we had a data strategy put together, and that has now led to a data strategy and insight manager coming into the organization, because how you structure your data, where your data is, how you deal with your data is just incredibly important. So you can access it, so you can make the most of it. We're just using, as I said, public content at the moment, so we don't have anything private, but if you start getting to agentic AI, then it really starts getting to a different level. And finally, other than this one, I don't know why I need to put this in front of a governance audience, it must be said, but if you've got a Paddlebot on the front of the site, always put a disclaimer. Always. They will get things wrong. They do get things wrong. They do have hallucinations, let's call them that. But the benefits that can come from just having that disclaimer at the bottom, so it lets people know on ours, on Paddlebot, or just say, look, this is for guidance. Paddlebot is a guide. To be 100% sure, always go to the documentation. Look at it first of all. Okay? Okay. And there was another one. And yeah. And that's really a roundup. There I planned for sort of like 10 minutes to get inside up of what we've been doing with Paddlebot. I mean, I hope that was in some way insightful or helpful for people. But if not, anyway, thank you very much for indulging me and listening.
you can take a seat down there.
Oh, well,
Um,
let me grab the water.
So I'm just going to ask Barry a couple of questions about Paddlebot, followed by some questions from the audience, if that's okay with everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Sam Green-Armytage. I'm the operations officer here at the Sports Governance Academy. So you've told us a lot about what Paddlebot is, and maybe how people try to misuse it. What maybe is it not? What can it not do for the user?
It's not a legal expert. It's not, in the room we have a load of governance and legal experts. If you're taking the route of being a legal expert, then that's a whole different model, and it needs to be trained specifically on legality, and that's a whole different area. It's a guide. It's not a professional, and never should replace professionals. Just say this up front straight away. And our putting forward a Paddlebot is nothing to do with trying to take people out of the organisation, because too many people are coming to the conclusion nowadays that you have a problem. The problem is the staff headcount is too high. The solution is AI, which is the wrong way around it. I think that the work you do is a human, it's a human endeavour, governance. So it's not supposed to be a legal entity. It's not supposed to be a legal professional.
No, that's perfect. And I know many people here are from national governing bodies, and I know ourselves as well. Like on our websites, there is so much information that the best web designer in the world maybe can't find something you call super intuitive as to how to navigate it, because there's just so many paths you can go down. So using something like this is really effective. So going back to how it was made, who were the kind of key stakeholders internally you had to deal with, and what were their concerns?
We went to every department. First of all, we could see what content was being accessed. So we could see the major documents are being pulled down, so things like membership T's and C's, for example. Qualifications was a key one. So we engaged with different departments about what the key core content that they would need or want to have on. We engaged with James and our legal team. They were there, first of all, to look at disclaimers and the legal side of how we could hold that together. But generally, we engaged with the core areas where we wanted to test to see that if it could bring that time back for people, which were the key areas to do it. So it was when you're going across coaching qualifications, governance, membership were key ones, and obviously events, people looking for events information. So it's across the organisation would feed in and get their opinions.
No, that's bad. And there was something in your bio on the website that really stood out to me, and it was said something along the lines of you want to be able to make these tools so that you can reinvest the benefits back into the sport. And with there being so many passionate and talented people working within these organisations, it gives them the ability to free them up from maybe some of the customer service aspects that are quite straightforward that the agent can solve, and really tackle the slightly more important or slightly more difficult issues that then they can obviously reinvest that back in. So I've got just one final question, because I know everyone would like to go and get a coffee, and then we'll open it up to the floor. So in terms of people in governance roles, so whether that's someone with internal governance responsibilities or if that's maybe a board member as well, what do they need to understand to be able to better support and challenge AI projects effectively?
I think it comes down to three areas, I think, and certainly from a board level and to governance. It's about understanding the purpose, accountability, and risk. Always be questioning, and I'm going to be a bore on this one all the time. What problem are you trying to solve? The question you go back to all the time. In a higher level, you've got to be asking people, what problem are you trying to solve from this? How is this investment, what you're doing, going to take away the barriers for us meeting our strategic objectives? That's one of the key things looking down. Now, a lot of this depends on how far you go with AI. So what we're using at the moment is really Gen AI and giving people content stuff in the public space. You move on to agentic AI, where it starts making decisions for you and starts taking the decisions out of your hands, then you start into a different area of risk and accountability. The risks there are quite mammoth, and to understand not just the data security risks, and I point to this one for McHire, if anyone's ever heard of McHire. McDonald's used a hiring system for the past 3 or 4 years called McHire, and it was AI powered, and it turns out that the company that was providing it had a password and username that was 123456, and 64 million people's employees' data, woof, straight out. So it's not just about data security, although that's important. It's about reputational risk, giving wrong information out. If you're making decisions and you're doing agentic AI, so it's making a decision for a person, it's all about the reputational risk as well. And then, of course, looking from the accountability perspective, if you've got an agentic AI, and this is the one from your side, who's accountable? Where's accountability come into that? These are the things I think really to understand, really, to always question when people start talking about AI. Firstly, what's the purpose of it? Again, the accountability and the risk elements.
No, fabulous. Thank you, Barry. So I'm now going to open up questions to the floor, and have we also got some online? I'll pass the mic over to Libby.
Yes, we've had quite a few questions coming in through online, so I wish I could read them all, but I'll start with one, Barry. We've got one here that says, what level of understanding of AI would you expect of decision makers and boards, and how would you seek to upskill them?
I would say they need a basic understanding of what AI is and how it works and the benefits. I think as we move forward, I think increasingly boards are going to become trained within the fundamentals of what AI is. At the moment, it's still Wild West. There's still a lot of not really knowing where it's going to take us, what it's going to do, where it's going. So I would recommend any board for basic board training so they can understand what AI brings. But again, I go back to the risk and accountability side as well. So I think for myself, boards should have a good, firm understanding of the basics. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barry. Do we have any questions in the room? I can see your hand up. Lots of hands up.
Thanks very much. Paul Stark, Scottish Surfing. Barry, that sounds like a fantastic project, and it's really clear from the rate of response by the members that it's increased significantly. What I'm interested in is the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So we've got stats there that show us, it's really well used, but what's the feedback from the paddle community? Are they enjoying using Paddlebot? Are they more satisfied with the responses that have come back from the organisation? So just looking to get a bit of feedback in terms of what's been the impact on a personal level for your members.
Yeah, sure. We've got a feedback system built into it. So you can click a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So firstly, feedback coming in is majority thumbs up. Well, I'd say probably only about 20 to 25% of people use that feedback area. Feedback coming in from the community so far, certainly coming in from Dodgers Paddlebot with a range of projects, will come into us through the likes of the development team, for example, who seem relatively happy with what it's offering. Very quick to pick up any mistakes that it makes, of course, which you would expect. But certainly that, and we have something called an AI risk assessment tool as well, which again, we've taken the approach not to dictate what someone has to put in a risk assessment, but to guide them for how they could improve it or make it better. So it's an educational tool, where previously they'll put a risk assessment together and not really be sure how to put a risk assessment together. And what it does is come up with a range of suggestions. So it'll go through and say, here are your strong points. So, but what you could do is add this, 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 and this. And the feedback coming through from that community through the coaching team is very positive. Yeah. So far.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
That's great.
Hi, Karen MacArthur from the BMC.
Hello.
Hi. My question is more around the sort of project life cycle. So sort of from conception to completion, what was the sort of project life cycle for that, the man hours involved? You've also explained the sort of ongoing costs for maintenance and now having to employ another person to manage the admin for the bot. So I'm just more interested in the the whole project life cycle in terms of man hours from conception to completion, and what sort of financial returns are you now actually gaining, and how are you measuring that?
Okay, firstly, it was never taken for financial gain or to mainly savings. What I said previously not about cutting headcount. That's not what it's about. It's about freeing up time, and we haven't measured the amount of freeing up time, which is something that we could have done. In terms of the project life cycle, let's look at the man hours first of all, or person hours, which we didn't employ an extra person. We employed someone within the organisation who's already there. It normally spread around the digital team in our case, so by sort of one or two of us who were already existing there. Each time, probably on a daily basis, it takes about 20 minutes of checking through that. I'd say across the cycle itself, it's still in testing mode for us. So the idea was it would go live, give it 12 months, and see what responses are coming in and see what had changed. We've noticed within that time a change in the way people use it. So given that, we're trying to respond to that because it's more conversational now and train it in different ways. So if you're looking at hours across, it would be difficult to gauge because there was nothing significantly put down on paper.
Right.
So I don't think I could give you the figures really.
Yeah, so sort of from business analysis to roll out.
Pretty much, and again, it's that idea about, because we're changing brand and building the site, it was predicated around how can we make life easier. I think, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And we find and stuck to that one problem and said it's about time poverty, etc. And if we can deliver that content, and that content is there. So it's more around, and it was at the time, going back probably about 2 years ago, so even less known about than we know now really about it. So a lot of it was, let's jump in and try it. And that's probably about as comprehensive as I can give you, I'm afraid.
I think we've got time for one more, and then we can go and have some coffee. Is there any
more questions in the room? We do have some online, so bear with me for 1 second. Barry, we've got one here from Anonymous. Are you able to have or been able to measure customer satisfaction in the bot service?
Only directly through the feedback that's in there. And probably about 20 or 25% of people that come through will use that feedback. Really, majority of it is thumbs up rather than thumbs down. And that's about as far as I can say.
Fantastic, thank you.
First of all, can we just get a round of applause for Barry? That was fantastic. I know you were busy answering people's questions there, but it was quite fun looking around the room every time you opened your mouth because everyone was looking at the pens in their hands, trying to jot down what you were saying. So I think that's been a really impactful session. So yeah, if any of you want to have a go on Paddlebot, but don't say please and thank you, remember, you can just find it straight away on Paddle UK's website, which you can find by Googling it, and I can already see some phones coming out. So sorry to the Paddle UK finance team. So let's go and grab a coffee. There's also a quick snack for everyone, and then we'll be back in here, let's say at 10 past? Quarter past, I've just been told, and we'll be ready to listen to Dr. Mustafa Sarkar. So thank you very much.